Well, yeah, certainly becoming a widow at like 32, I think, was not the plan. And I don't think most people would have like chosen that life for themselves. But I think there's just so many things that happen in life that cause us to become, shape us into who we are, who we're meant to be. And obviously that losing Chris was a huge defining moment in my life.
Welcome to Moxie, where we discuss life's moments that require us to stare fear in the face and move through it. Today's conversation is with Stephanie. Stephanie is my good friend, and she's a mom of two. In 2017, she lost her husband in a tragic accident. I asked Stephanie if we could have a conversation so that she could teach me how to be a better friend during life's toughest moments. I hope you enjoy.
Hey.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. You look great.
Thanks.
Are you having a good day so far at work?
Yeah. I work from home I take Fridays to work from home. So I went for a run this morning, changed my air filters. So just checking some stuff off the home list, laundry. I like to have Fridays to kind of get ready for the weekend. So that's why it's usually laundry day at the house, and try to get it put together so that on the weekends I'm just with the kids.
Yeah, makes sense.
What about you? Good Friday?
Good Friday. Yeah, I ran this morning as well in the dark, so that was fun.
Yeah, I'll be happy when the time changes, except that it's going to get so dark so quickly.
No, I agree. Well, thank you for doing this, of course.
Yeah.
I'm doing this thing called Moxie with women, and after running the Ironman, I was like, you know what? I'm going to interview the women that inspire me. And
well, I mean, again, I am constantly blown away by you, just your ability to set goals and then like accomplish them. I'm always amazed with. So, I mean, you definitely give inspiration to so many other people. So I'm honored that, that I could place a small role in helping you with setting a goal and getting through that competition. So
absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I think it's important that you and I've had conversations like sitting on the porch and having wine and, just and hearing things. And I just said, I think it's important that other people, maybe you can shine the light on certain things that people don't know. And then as your friend, I'm like, I've seen things that you've gone through and done. And I'm just like, she's a warrior. And I just kind of want to, I just wanted to talk through that with you, and whatever you're comfortable with, like just saying, this is, you wouldn't have chosen this, or you didn't choose this. So kind of, how do you deal with it? Because I know that other people can benefit from knowing that they're not alone. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah, certainly becoming a widow at like 32, I think, was not the plan. And I don't think most people would have like chosen that life for themselves. But I think there's just so many things that happen in life that cause us to become, shape us into who we are, who we're meant to be. And obviously that losing Chris was a huge defining moment in my life, in kind of completely shifting a gear as to, I was no longer a wife. I was no longer married. And all of a sudden I was a single mom. And so that just, it just changes everything in an instant. And I think change is so scary. I think it's like such a negative word in our society. Like, oh, no one wants to change. Everyone's so set in their ways. But if anything, the whole experience taught me that change isn't bad, isn't necessarily bad. Obviously, losing a spouse so young, especially when you have a young child, having a child on the way, was quite, just a super tragic moment. But I would just, for me, it was, I didn't have a choice to not keep going. My, Emerson was, I don't think he was even 3 at the time.
No.
I think, because he turned 3 later that year. And it was just, I had to keep life going for him. It wasn't, he didn't necessarily have any opportunity to say, okay, well, mommy, like, you can just fall apart. You can not feed me and not change me. He needed me, and that required, so it required me to kind of put aside a part of that initial, like, falling apart, to focus on him. Obvious. And I think for me, it helped me stay sane too. I really can't imagine if I hadn't had him to hold on to, that what I would have done. Because again, I had to just be mom still. A piece of me had completely just shattered in an instant, but I was still mom. And that didn't change. I think another thing with facing changes, and I don't know that you can, I think every change can be good. Obviously, I wouldn't say that Chris passing was good, but there's good changes that can come from it. The friendships that I had became lifelines all of a sudden. I relied so much on my partner to be so much more. And then when he was gone, you need that connection. You need to have those people and those friendships. And it just really, I don't know, forced or let me realize that other people were there, and I could count on all these other people, you and all the other girls, especially. It's okay to reach out to other people. And I think about some of the friendships that were really just starting at the time that Chris passed, and all of a sudden, we experienced this huge shift. And all of a sudden there's a village that is more active. I think, especially with children, everyone says it takes a village, and it's 100% true. And I think that village really went into action for me, to help support me when, bringing meals, stopping, with flowers, asking, just like general, what can I do? Can we help with Emerson any? Let me take him to the park. just little things like that. That really, again, showed how amazing people can be. And so, yeah, so having that village really helped get me through a lot of stuff.
For people that watch this, Stephanie, and they don't know the story, do you mind sharing what happened? Because I remember exactly where I was when we found out. Like, I mean, I know exactly where I was, what I was doing, and I can only imagine what you felt. I mean, it's just a million times worse. I mean, I can't comprehend it. And so, do you mind sharing kind of what happened?
Yeah. So obviously, my husband passed. So back in May of 2017, we were what I thought was this like perfect little family, just regular life. And he was on a photo shoot and was out on a canoe. Something happened with the canoe. They were in the water far enough from land that he couldn't reach it, and drowned. And I found out that he had passed away the day before Mother's Day in 2017, which still is, it's hard to have like such a event and a holiday or whatever right next to each other. But yeah, so he again, obviously is an accident. I was in Atlanta with my parents at the time. I just remember we had gotten a call about like reaching out to Chris's parents. And at first I thought that something had happened to like his dad or something. And I called the numbers I'd had for the people that Chris was supposed to be with. No one was answering the phone. Finally, someone called, one of the assistants called me back and was like, is somebody else with you? Are you with somebody? And like in that instant, I knew that I was something with Chris. I remember we were at a mall. I remember like sitting at this restaurant, waiting. We were, it's dinner time. Emerson and I are sitting in a booth while my dad like had taken the phone out to go talk to this person. And there was a family, a mom and a dad and two little boys. And I looked at them and I was like, that's just never going to be me. That's not going to be us. And I, again, like in that instant of, is somebody else with you? I knew it wasn't, whatever it wasn't good. And I had felt that, something had happened to Chris. So then my dad comes back, and he has to break the news to me that we've lost Chris. And I just kind of like, my legs gave out and just fell, just could not, just like in that moment of my whole body, I felt like shut down for a second. And then it was, okay, we got to get back home. We got to get back to Charleston. And my mom was like trying to hold on to Emerson. And I was just like, do not take him from me. And they're like, you're pregnant. You're like, you need to like, don't carry your heavy child. And I was like, do not like and Emerson knew that something had happened, because here's his mom, like all of a sudden crying and being so upset. So we went back to the hotel and packed up. I mean, it's like a whirlwind. I remember standing at a street corner or waiting to cross and just like, like in movies where the camera goes around the person. I mean, I felt in that instant where I was standing still, but like everything seemed to be spinning around me. And just, like the entire way from Atlanta to Charleston, I think I cried. I remember getting home and like, I couldn't sleep in my bed. Cause it was just like, yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, like Chris isn't here. He's never going to be here. And it was a completely crazy experience going through that. Young, obviously we had not planned, there was no illness or sickness, so it wasn't something that we had like time to think about. So like going through all of the funeral stuff, and it's such a crazy thing. I am definitely not the only young single mom or young mom that lost their spouse. There are certainly, every day somebody is put in my position. And I was very, very lucky. I'll make my, my little alert to everybody of how important life insurance is. As soon as you're, I don't know, any age, go ahead and get a life insurance policy. It's super cheap when you're young. We were lucky enough to have had been adult enough when we were, so I was pregnant at the time. We had gotten pregnant at the beginning of the year, back in 2016, when we talked about having another baby. I said we needed to be adults. We don't have life insurance. We need to get that done. We need to get our wills done. I'm a lawyer, so I was like, the fact that we don't have wills is, I feel like, a really bad sign of me as a lawyer. And so luckily we had put those steps. We had started taking the steps, and had very recently been able to get approved for life insurance. And so while I had to go through the unfun process of their investigating, it was definitely a godsend of having that financial stability, because that would have 100% changed my entire life. And I think when people, I tell people this too, of, gosh, don't you get so mad at God for like doing this? And I think about it of like, God did not like make Chris die that day. But he knew it was going to happen. And he gave me such a gift of putting us in a position where, I could still live, I could support the kids. And so that's, I certainly do not wish that I'd had to go through that. But am so thankful for having had that forethought of trying to be responsible and make sure that some of those unfun things to talk about are like addressed. That's my like PSA of get life insurance.
No, that's really helpful, because you don't think about that. I mean, anything like that, that's helpful for people that, you might, like you said, we're young, we're thinking, oh, nothing's gonna, or you're not thinking the worst, like, ever. And for you to have that outlook of like, well, I'm grateful that these things were set into motion. I mean, that just shows I don't know, Stephanie, that's amazing that you have that outlook and that you can share with others too. Like, hey, get your life insurance. Make sure you're
oh my gosh. Yeah. Get more life insurance.
Yeah.
It's so cheap. Again, it's just really cheap when you're young. And it just, even if you end up not using it, the amount of money that you'll spend is so minuscule compared to if you do need it, like what benefit it has. But yeah, it, as far as like being able to look and say that, well, these are good things that came out of it. I think gratitude is so important in life. And I listen to a lot of podcasts about how to be happy. And over again, I think that gratitude is just the largest piece of how to be happy. I certainly am always working harder to like financially support like hopes and dreams and plans. but looking at what I have and being just grateful for, being able to get up, and that I have a job that I can say, I'm going to take today, and I'm going to work from home, and we get some stuff done around the house that I need to. Having a job that lets me do that, I'm grateful for. Do I enjoy every single moment of it? Absolutely not. I don't know of anybody. I mean, maybe you, but I mean, there's something about everyone's job where you're just like, I don't like this, but to be in a position where I have flexibility,
right,
especially when it comes to kids, and even with the kids, kids are hard. Like one parent, two parents, one kid, 5 kids. It's hard. But I remember running one time, and the bus stopped. It was the handicap bus, and here's a mom like pushing her child in a wheelchair up to the bus. And gosh, I think I don't know, maybe that night or that morning I'd been so frustrated, and just caught my breath of, man, I'm so grateful that my kids are healthy. I'm so grateful that I was able to have kids. It's like there are people who struggle so much trying to have them. It's like, that's like their calling. That's what they really want. And, they struggle with that. So just trying to put in perspective and be grateful for, again, the silly moments of, your kid telling you like, I'm like, it's like snowing out here, Mom. My nose is so cold. I'm a snowman. When it's like 50 degrees, and that's how you know that we live in Charleston and my kids could never survive the cold. And just being grateful for those little things, and that you're here and healthy. And I think it's so like kind of going back to some podcasts, the media is so negative. And I think, and I feel like I listened to something about like, from like a development process and like a survival process, like we are like programmed to react to bad and to negative and to like threats in order, going back however many thousands of years. Like for us to survive, we have to be able to respond and deal with what's bad happening. And I think, now we don't have to worry about, lions coming after us or bears, sometimes, but we're not like being hunted, back in however many years ago. But now we have the media that just everything is bad. So I think there's this like just negativity bias. So it's easy to be upset about like, oh, I didn't get that raise this year. And, so-and-so got it. And, oh man, I didn't get, this job. And I remember, thinking back with Chris, freelance photographer. Gosh, he would be so frustrated when he would find out that somebody else got like an assignment, and he's like, man, like, but it's okay. Well, you didn't get that, but look what you did get. You got to do this other one, and we just got to keep working hard, and hopefully next time they'll pick you. But yeah, so it's just always trying to look and see that there is so much good out there. And it's not like I do it every day, all day. But it's, by the time I go to bed, I definitely try to think about, okay, well, there's one good thing that has happened today, and try to set my thoughts to something more positive than just the negative of dealing with everyday life.
That's powerful. I do the same thing of like, what am I grateful for? Kind of in the mornings, you're thinking through like setting your intentions, because it is easy to just wake up and immediately have like everything hit you. So I try not to check my phone, because then I can see like if a client needs something, then my mind immediately goes there. And then, yeah, like little things that the kids are saying, it could be a little frustrating, or, instead of being like, oh my goodness, I'm so grateful that I get to help you have breakfast this morning, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
So.
Like, the other morning, Emerson couldn't find his jacket, and I had seen it. I knew it was in the bathroom. But I was like, I'm not telling you where it's at. And he was getting so frustrated, and I could have yelled and been so upset. It's like, go look, because it is right in front of you. Like, if you go down the hallway, you are going to see your jacket, like right by the bathroom. And I just said, okay, well, again, it's like, I can choose to be really frustrated, but if I go off on them, I feel bad. It's like he didn't necessarily like purposely not look for his jacket. I mean, maybe he did, but they're kids. And so I'm the one who's going to feel guilt later on. And so it's, and I think I look at like discipline and, trying to like help raise the kids. It's like, I have to teach them how to respond. And so that's been something that weighs heavily on my mind of, if I'm going to always be yelling at them because like they forget something or they can't find something because they didn't really look for it, then I'm just teaching them like yelling and being frustrated that's the reaction to have with everybody. And so raising kids, I think it's helped a little bit of like set me of, let's work together. These aren't big deals. And let's see what we can do. Gratitude. And I feel like I hear that there are so many studies about gratitude, but it really, I think it's such a, if that's like one thing that anybody thinks to try and do, is just to try to practice gratitude at some point in the day. It's never every day, or it's never all the time, because life is hard. Like just because I can be grateful for things doesn't mean that I don't recognize that life is hard.
Right.
But during the day of like even at lunch, like if you can't do it in the morning, like at lunch, or again at night, trying to think, okay, what's good has happened? I know I have all these things to do tomorrow, but what's one good thing that's happened today?
What do you think, before, like Stephanie before the accident, Stephanie after the accident, is there anything that you wish you had known?
No, I don't think so. I don't think that you can, you just have to, like, life just comes at you. And what is it like? There's like some sports saying about like, our attitude is 90%, or 10% what happens to you and 90% your attitude towards it, or something. I don't know. Something along the lines of like, something happens to you, but you get to choose how it affects you. And so I don't know that there's anything I wish I would have known. Certainly at the beginning of like, right when it happened, there's like such a, and grief is such a personal process, and everybody is going to experience it differently. But for me, like, grief at the beginning was so physical. And I had trouble eating. I had trouble sleeping. I remember, again, I was pregnant at the time. So like, I went to my doctor because everyone, like my mom, my dad, my sister, everyone's so worried that I'm not eating. And I'm like, the baby's going to take like whatever it needs is going to take from me. I know it will. And like the fact, like if I'm not gaining weight, it's like not the end of the world, and so I wish at the beginning I would have known that the physical part of grief, again, the not eating, the not sleeping, the crying, which is such a physical exhaustion. I wish I would have known that it ended. Because I think at that moment, going through it was just like, this is never going to end, is what it felt like. And so I do, yeah, if anything, just knowing that the intensity of grief at that initial moment would pass. But besides that, I just, I feel like I grew so much as a person going through it. I feel like I've always been pretty independent. And I think if you ask, like, I mean, if you had asked Chris, I mean, I think I've always been pretty headstrong.
Yeah.
But just learning how important relationships were, how important like people were in life. I don't know that I feel like I've always been so lucky to have wonderful friendships. And I thought I valued them, but I don't think I really valued them the way that they should be valued until I had this happen to me. And maybe it's probably like really corny about like, oh, you know, we always take people for granted until they're gone. And I mean, it's 100% true. We most certainly, I don't, and that's hard. It's hard to like always be so appreciative of like people when they're here and we're not thinking that they're not going to be there with us. But I have like come to realize how much more valuable connection is in life and connection with people is in life. And I am like so grateful that has been something I've seen in myself. And I love connecting to people so much more than I probably would have if I hadn't gone through this.
That's really powerful. I'm thinking through that. I'm like, yeah. When you meet other women that have gone through what you've gone through, and I know that you just kind of spoke about I wish I had known that the grief or the physical grief would stop. What would you share to someone that might not know that they're about to go through something extremely hard, like by losing, because you've lost your mom and your husband within 3.5, years.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I talk about you a lot and I'm like, I don't know how someone can be so gracious and like you're, forgive my language, a badass lawyer. Like,
well, I don't know about that, but
I
try to be.
And you're a mom of 2. You gave birth after losing your husband, and then you lost your mom, who was you were very, very close with her.
Yeah,
she was one of your very best friends. And so like that is something that I look at you and I'm like, how does she function in a way that's like, you can talk with me and say, I have perspective and I practice gratitude. And I'm just like, I admire that about you. Like,
well, thanks. Mom. So right after Chris, like a month, Mom found out that she had cancer. And then in December of 2019, so about 2.5 years later, she passed away. And that was, and sometimes I remember telling people, like, I almost preferred the surprise of the passing, because like seeing the grieving process, I felt like was so much longer with Mom, because it was like it was so hard to hear that she had this diagnosis. So you grieve that, and then it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have the surgery, she's gonna be okay. And then you find out, no, she's not, we didn't get it all, it's different than we thought. And so the grieving process with mom going through cancer. And I'm talking about my own experience, and my mom is like, she was the strongest lady ever. I look at her example. I mean, she would have chemo and like 2 days later would drive from Atlanta to Charleston to be with me and help me with the kids. So I mean, she is just a phenomenal example of love. But yeah, losing her was such a different experience, going through and like seeing this loved one deteriorate is, I found it harder because it was just so drawn out, and I knew what was coming. And yeah, there was certainly, once again, like the physical of like when she did pass, and well, I mean, even before, it's like there would be times where we would get information from the doctors, and then it would be like that physical, like, oh my gosh, like my mom really is going to not be here with me for a long time. And so it was, not being able to eat, not being able to sleep, like just being stressed out. And then it happened, and it was, there's, on the one hand, there was like a little bit of relief because she wasn't in pain anymore, but you just like feel all of a sudden again, like you go through, or I went through that feeling of physical grief. Thankfully not as long, but it's, what I would want somebody to like know about going through a hard thing. Just like, I don't know, just it's okay to fall apart. I remember like when I lost Chris, I remember feeling like I had like a W, like, like in the Scarlet Letter.
Yeah.
Like I just felt like I had a W on my chest or on my forehead, that like somehow like widow was this like crazy word. And I needed everyone to know, because I knew at any moment I could fall apart. And I was like, I just want you to know that there is a reason I am falling apart. And I was just like, you know what? I can't pretend. So, there were times where, I went back to work and I would close my door and just cry. And there still are times like that happens where like a memory comes up and I'm just like, all of a sudden I'm, waterworks are flowing. But it's okay. It's like the fact that I had these people in my life that create those emotions are just, how lucky that I had that. And then I get to think about them, and crying is hard. Crying, like, it's like physically taxing, but it's also just like that expression of such love and emotion. And so it's okay to fall apart, is I think what I would want people going through any hardship. Like again, if a loved one is sick or something like that, or just knowing that it's okay. Like even if it's in public, it's okay. Because again, even most people be like, okay, well, whatever, what a weirdo. But they don't know you. It's fine. They're not going to think about you much longer than the 10 seconds that they saw you if it is in public. So
that's good advice.
Yeah.
What advice would you give people, like other women that, and it could be anyone, but let's say that they have a friend that is going through something, that they lost a spouse or lost a loved one. And it's sometimes you're put in a position as a friend, you're like, you don't want to overstep, you don't want to, but you also want them to know that you're there. What advice would you give to others?
I would just say that when someone is going through something like loss, like job struggle, any sort of thing, dealing with children, just anything, in that moment, nobody knows what they need. And so I think my least favorite question was, what can I do for you? Because it was, I just have no idea. I really don't. And the effort to think of what do I need is just, I didn't have that in me to think about it. And I mean, I think, and I'll, again, what a treasure you are. I remember when mom passed, it was, okay, well, let us, we'll come down because it was close to Christmas. We'll come down, like, do the kids have Christmas presents? Like, we can help wrap. I mean, it wasn't like, what can we do? It was like, this is what we'll do for you. And it's just stuff like that of, just to say, hey, can I stop by? Can I bring, this, can I bring a bottle of wine, or can I drop off a meal for you? Can I come help you with laundry? Something like that, versus, saying like, well, what do you need? Again, is just anybody who's going through something, just their energy is on dealing with whatever they're going through, and to think, man, what do I need? It's just, they don't want to do it. Or I didn't want to do it for sure. I've gotten, now it's a little easier for me to, especially with the kids, being like, okay, well, I need help with pickups. And so knowing that, reaching out to friends and saying, hey, can you take, the kid here? I don't have time for this. And so I'm much better about reaching out to other people. But yeah, for friends who have, someone going through something, just do anything. A text, just letting them know you're thinking about them. I've really valued those too. They may not respond. That's okay. They got it. And yeah, so that would be my advice. So just do it. Don't ask them. Just do it. And I don't know, some people who are going through that are like, don't you dare, like, don't just drop stuff off at my house. But we had a nice, each time we'd put like a cooler outside. So it wasn't, I didn't have to, especially with Chris, I didn't have to like welcome people in if I didn't feel like it. They knew they could just like put it in the cooler. So that was helpful. But yeah, just do something that you think that you can offer. Again, I mean, that's sometimes, and because sometimes you'll ask, what can I do for you? And in that moment, there might be something that I need, like that person who's going through something needs done, but they don't know that you can do it, or they don't think you can do it or something. So it's easier just, hopefully people are aware of like what their gifts are a little bit. And so, if your gift is baking, then, again, bringing over something. But again, I go back to like with mom and, with you, when you're just like, here, we're going to come down, we'll do this for you. And it's just helpful to not have to, there's already 1,000 things that are going through your mind of having to think of like, okay, well, what list do I need to make for people? So.
Oh, that's really good. And it's good perspective for people to know that you have gone through the unimaginable. And so for you to say, like, whenever someone is going through this, their mind, your mind isn't anywhere, your energy is not to like, what am I going to be cooking for the kids? Like, it's nice not to have to think about that. And so, well, like, I view you as like one of the strongest women I know. What wisdom would you like to impart? And you've already like given me so much in this, like, but what if you were like, okay, I have gone through this and I'm going to continue to go through this my entire life. Like this, like you said, your identity changed in an instant, and it will always forever be with you. However, what is Stephanie looking forward to in the future, and what wisdom would you give to me and other women?
I'm really looking forward to actually taking a vacation sometime in the future, like near future. I need, and like with that's like with kids or with girlfriends or something. I like really need a break. So I'm looking forward to doing like, I'm going to plan something in 2022 for me to like have a break. But as far as I would just go back to gratitude. It's there's nothing in life that everything in life could break you if you let it. Like there's just, and so you get a choice. And gratitude is a choice. And so that's what I would just, gratitude has been so impactful for me to, you know, keep me going and to realize like, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think most people would say like, wow, like the worst thing that could happen happened. Like your husband died while you had a baby and you were pregnant. I mean, that seems pretty bad, but there could have been like 100 things worse. Like, I mean, you know, like, that's the thing. It's like, there's always something that could have been worse. And I mean, that's not necessarily how you practice gratitude, but, again, looking at it, I have these two beautiful children who bring a lot of joy. They're amazing reminders of their dad. They have so much of his energy and personality. When it comes to my mom, you know, I just like, she is the ultimate example of love and what being a mom should be. She was able to stay at home with us. And so obviously like parenting is different when you're full-time, when you have a full-time job versus staying home. But I just, you know, thinking back, you know, she's just always there. And I hope that even, you know, like, even though I may not be at every event, you know, I try to be present as much as I can with the kids, and try to instill in them of like, okay, well, you know, what are we thankful for? So I try, you know, at night, after reading to each of the kids, like, okay, well, what was something that happened today that made you laugh? Because especially with William, he's so young, that I don't know, like what's something that like made you thankful? I don't know necessarily that he knows what thankfulness is.
Right.
And I don't know, that's probably my fault. But like to say like, oh, what's something that made you laugh today? Like, when were you happy? You know, so trying even from a young age to get them to think about happier things, and be, again, look for the good. Yeah, it's like Mr. Rogers, look for the helpers. They're always there. Look for the good. It's always there. Sometimes it's hard to necessarily see that it is good. But if you take the time and make practice it, it becomes easy. It's just like any practice, anything that you want to try and do. Gratitude is a practice, and the more that you do it, the better you get. So yeah, gratitude is, if anything, I would just say is the most important thing for life, and to try and find happiness.
Well, that was amazing, and thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you speaking, because that's sometimes, you know, I know certain things, but then there's parts that you shared today that I was like, I didn't know you were sitting in a mall. I knew you were in Atlanta, but how you painted that picture, I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. Just a lot of moments that you shared today that I was like, wow, you're remarkable.
Well, right back at you. Again, I'm in awe of just, my goal setting ability is not great. So I really do look to you as just an amazing example of like what accomplishment is, because you really are. So just know that you give back just as much as maybe you think you get from me. So thank you.
No, I get it. Well, you have a rest of, like, I want your day to be awesome. So, and I know I've taken a little bit of your, I was like, oh my goodness,
no, clients. All good. So. But yeah, well, happy Halloween. Hope the kids have fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. And
we'll be doing the trick-or-treating tomorrow night. So
fun.
Christopher is obsessed with fire hoses right now. I don't know where it came from, but he walked out of the house this morning with a vacuum cleaner hose, and he's like fire hose, but he puts things down it so you don't know necessarily what he's taking out of the house with him. So he could be taking like one of my earrings or half a donut, or I don't know.
So. That's the joy of being, to just be thankful. Like later on, you're gonna be like, I didn't know where that was. Now I do. So.
Exactly. Well, you have a great rest of your day.
You too. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye.